So it is very, very likely that we will never see Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, or Gear 4th ever again in One Piece. If Gear 5 is Luffy at his peak, if that is Luffy at his best, when Gear 5 can do everything that Gear 2nd, 3rd, and 4th can, but even better, is it really necessary for Luffy to go back to those individual gears? I don't think so. The truth is, Luffy just does not have a need for those other gears anymore. Not at this current point in the story, and I'm gonna explain why. But first, we need to really understand the narrative significance of Gears 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in order to grasp why Gear 5 is gonna be the only form, the only gear that Luffy is gonna be using going forward until the end of the story. When Luffy first unveiled Gear 2nd back in Enies Lobby versus Blueno, it was out of necessity. Luffy realized that in order to protect his friends, he had to be stronger. He needed to be stronger as captain. He couldn't afford to be weak anymore, and after seeing the CP9 agents in action, Luffy pretty much copies their shave technique, but with his own rubbery and zany twist, of course. But by far, the most important aspect of Gear 2nd and its introduction is the fact that this is Luffy's first time using a power-up of any kind, despite the series being several hundreds of chapters deep at this point. Luffy had defeated many deadly adversaries along this way, the likes of Arlong, Crocodile, and Eru, yet it is against CP9 where we see Luffy take a different form in order to defeat the enemy standing in front of him and beyond. At the risk of coming across as one of those people, even the way that Gear 2nd was introduced into the story, the way that it works, the way that it was implemented, it's so different from what we see when you look at other shonen series. This was not a form that Luffy brought out of anger or out of rage or out of the death of a loved one. No, this is a form that Luffy realized that he needed in order to progress, in order to get to where he wanted to be at the end of this all. It is that level of introspection from our main character that adds so much weight to Gear 2nd. Gear 2nd is what it is, not because of how badass it is, even though that's most definitely a part of it, but due to the surrounding circumstances and what came prior to that. Luffy coasted his way through the entire East Blue and basically to the halfway point of the Grand Line. Seriously, you would think that Luffy was invincible, unstoppable, the way he conquered and defeated every single obstacle in his way. Water 7 comes along and Luffy comes face to face with a brick wall. And the only possible way that he was going to be able to tear this wall down, to break this wall, was to get stronger. Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd respectively represent a coming of age. The evolution of Monkey D. Luffy as a pirate, as a captain, and it's akin to needing to go from level 20 in a video game to level 50 to defeat the big boss. And similarly, the same case can be made for Gear 4 as well. Coming off a whole 2 years of training with the Dark King Rayleigh, and upon entering the New World, Luffy's first major challenge was one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Don Quixote do Flamingo. This is an opponent, a hurdle unlike any other Luffy had encountered before. In every single major field, Doflamingo seemed to have Luffy outmatched. Speed, brains, devil fruit utilization. You talk about having someone's number, man. Dofi had Luffy on speed dial as far as I'm concerned. So what was going to be that deciding factor? Just what would be the thing that gave Luffy an edge over this powerful foe? That's where Gear 4 comes in. Enter Gear 4 Boundman. And Gear 4 changed the game tremendously so. Let me put this into perspective for you. Luffy in his Boundman's form absolutely ran through Doflamingo. It wasn't even funny. Gear 4 elevated Luffy in a way that is unprecedented in my opinion. Luffy wasn't equal to Dofi in Gear 4. He was now an entire tier or more above him. Doflamingo's best string of offense was his Devil Fruit Awakening, which only served as a minor inconvenience at most for Luffy, and the 16 holy bullets that Luffy effortlessly broke through. The usage of Gear 4 in the subsequent defeat of Doflamingo was basically Luffy's way of knocking onto the door of the New World and saying, hey, I'm here. I have arrived. In many ways, Gear 4 served as a big turning point for Luffy. If we're talking about becoming Pirate King here, defeating the four emperors, the navy, and standing on top of the world, then it was about time we acquired the strength of a top tier. Conquering Doflamingo in such emphatic fashion was a really great way of showing us that Luffy is well on his way to becoming one of the strongest in the world. And with this newfound power, Luffy would go on to defeat two sweet generals on Whole Cake Island, using the Tank Man form to defeat Charlotte Cracker and the Snake Man form to take down Charlotte Katakuri. However, it is after three brutal back-to-back losses to Kaido, where it became abundantly clear that Gear 4 alone was not enough. It was not going to be anywhere near enough to stand atop of the sea as Pirate King. Gear 4 brought us to the dance, but it wasn't going to keep us on the floor. And that is one of two reasons why I say Luffy won't be needing his other gears moving forward. The second of which I'm going to mention very shortly here. And so in comes Gear 5. The legendary white-haired mythical form of Monkey D. Luffy. This power is far greater than I could have ever imagined it being. Never in my life did I think I'll witness an Emperor of the Sea being used as a jump rope or a fist dwarfing the size of an entire island. It is this. It is Gear 5 that's going to take Luffy to the throne. The second reason why Luffy won't be using his other gears going forward is simply because of what we have left in the story. And let me elaborate on that. We are coming off the heels of Wano Country. We have swiftly defeated two emperors of the sea. The truth of the matter is, there's not much left of One Piece. All we have left is the meeting with Shanks, the inevitable battle with Blackbeard, and the final war that's going to be waged against the world government. And that's it. When you think about it, we are currently in a section of the story where there is simply no place for a Gear 2nd, a Gear 3rd, or a Gear 4th. There is no need for Gears 2nd, 3rd, or 4th anymore because, as I said in the start of the video, Gear 5 can do all of that, but on an even greater scale. There is no need for a Gear 2nd, 3rd, or 4th against Sakazuki. There isn't going to be a need for a Gear 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in the battle against Blackbeard. There's going to be no need for a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th when it comes to the fight with red-haired Shanks and his red-haired pirates. Why would Luffy use any of that when he now has Gear 5? Gear 5 is Luffy at his most freest. This is straight from the man's mouth. He said this directly, that he is most free when he is using Gear 5. So when you take those words into consideration and you take that into the context of Luffy's character, what sense does it make to restrict himself to Gears 2nd, 3rd, or 4th when literally Gear 5 is when he can do whatever the hell he wants to? Gear 5 also represents a different point in the story for Luffy. Much like how Gears 2nd and 3rd was a means of Luffy proving that he is no longer just a captain of a ragtag group of pirates, but that he's leading a crew of dangerous men and women. Gear 4 was just solidifying his place as a formidable pirate and a true contender to the One Piece. With Gear 5, Luffy is just more than the man who will be king of the pirates. He is the warrior of liberation. Luffy is he who shall change the world and bring about a new dawn. Gear 5 highlights a spiritual and narrative awakening for our favorite rubber man. So while we may have very well seen the last of Gear 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, there's still a load of potential here with Gear 5. Gear 5 is powered by Luffy and his boundless, endless imagination. Although whatever we see from Gear 5 may not make up for the loss of gears that we've been with for so long, for so many years, hundreds of chapters. For that to be gone, there's gonna be an emptiness in our hearts. And believe me, I'm feeling it just as much as all of you. But Gear 5 is gonna be a very fun time until we get to the end of this story. Gear 5 is going to bring us so many crazy, ridiculous, funny, insane things, and that's no doubt gonna be a joy to behold. I eagerly anticipate whatever foolishness Oda has in store for both Luffy and Gear 5 as we approach the finale to this once-in-a-lifetime story. But that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, you know the drill, my friend. Make sure you smash that like button for me. Smash that thumbs up, man. If you're new here, if this is the first video you've seen of mine, I know you liked it. Make sure you subscribe. Help me help you, because when you subscribe, you are guaranteeing yourself some of the best One Piece content on the market. And believe me, you're not gonna want to miss what I have planned. That said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you lovely people on the flip side, man.